gatekeepers, UFO cabal sounds a lot alike to me. What does everybody think about a UFO cabal out there?
I want to know what whistleblowers have brought evidence, because he's saying like more are going to come bringing evidence. I mean, I haven't seen one do that. There's a lot of whistleblowers coming out. I think a lot of this doesn't matter. What's going to get people over the finish line is actual proof and evidence. Stories are just only going to take us so far. The more this keeps growing, the bubble keeps growing, and they're trying to get more people involved, right? You know, gatekeepers and cabals and secret. Yeah, we know all that. Okay, that's what's been talked about. We get it. Bring the evidence. Like it's that conspiracy and that sort of story is only going to go so far. So I kind of just ignore a lot of that. That's just me personally. You know, everyone, I get it. You get all riled up and they're hiding it. Okay, then we need people to come out and say, not just say, but bring evidence and proof.
We are Area 51 Coffee Company. Coffee for regular humans and coffee with twice the caffeine of a typical cup with a buzz that's out of this world. Coffee connoisseurs from across the galaxy seek out our smooth brew with a hint of sweetness in a perfect roast. Area51coffeeco.com. You will also be assimilated with our Area 51 merchandise. We are invading Earth one cup at a time. We are Area 51 Coffee Company. Area51coffeeco.com.
We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man's.
Did the CIA write Wind of Change by the Scorpions?
As humans busied themselves about the various concerns, they were scrutinized and studied.
Dr. Loeb, what percentage chance do you give it that you have indeed uncovered extraterrestrial or non-human technology?
With infinite complacence, people went about their affairs, yet across an immense ethereal gulf, intellects vast and unsympathetic threw their plans against us.
Prior to your abduction, did you believe in UFOs or any sort of alien life form?
All things unexplained.
So some of that, I think, sir, will save for closed session.
Hello, all you unexplained ones. Thank you for joining us. This is CJ Derringer, and you are listening to the All Things Unexplained podcast. I'm here with my co-host. I've got Dr. Tim Mounts as well as Smitty Neves, and we are so lucky to be joined by a very special guest this evening. His name is Patrick from the Vetted podcast. We have been following him for a long time now. He has a very popular show covering all things about the UFO phenomenon. Thank you so much for joining us, Patrick.
Yeah, pleasure to be here. Oh, yeah, please, guys. Please. Let me.
A warm welcome. A warm welcome in these parts.
No, thanks for having me.
Let's dive into the Chris Bledsoe part here. How are they connected, Patrick, in all of your research that you've done? What's the Chris Bledsoe, Tyler D, Diana Pasulka connection?
I mean, from what I can tell, it is Tyler D who has been, outed as Tim Taylor. Right, this guy Timothy E. Taylor.
And can we say he was outed by Chris Bledsoe? It feels a little bit like
100%.
Yeah,
100%. Which he's explained a few different times why, and at this point it's out. Cat's out of the bag. And yeah, there he is at the Vatican here too. So he's the connection between them. And I found out more through speaking with Grant Cameron, they would have these like experiencer meetups up in Canada, and Tim Taylor likes to show up to these to meet people, right? It's how he's meeting everybody. And supposedly that's how he potentially found out about the crash site that he took Diana to. But, it's kind of a little confused. It's kind of the end of Inception, right? The top is spinning, and you don't know what's going to happen.
No, that movie, and it's frustrated me.
Yeah, right. You want to know because it's like either he took him to the same crash site, or there's two crash sites in San Agustin, which basically means Saint Augustine, right? So think about the religious connection there, right?
Right.
But is there two different crash sites there, right? They taken him to the same one. Has Chris Bledsoe gone? I've heard yes, I've heard no. Supposedly it's like a sacred place. They worship there. So I'm talking about the same place Diana went to.
Right.
So I don't know. It's hard to tell. But this guy, Tim Taylor, he is definitely connected somehow in there, to a lot more people than just Chris Bledsoe and Diana Pasulka. Way more.
Do you think he still is?
100%.
And I had to tell Patrick something. Somebody asked me several weeks ago, hey, have you ever gotten scared looking into some of these subjects? And I said, no, I really haven't. I really have felt very disconnected from everything.
Yes, but my
But
co-host CJ.
yeah. Unlike CJ feels frightened quite often. Hitchhiker effect. But
Yeah.
I did have a situation here a couple weeks ago there where I really got freaked out one night, and it was because I watched an episode of yours, Patrick, of the Vetted podcast on YouTube.
Oh, no.
And it had Chris Bledsoe on there, and he started talking a little bit about his connection with Tim Taylor. And suddenly I just started connecting the dots here. And again, this is where we get back into some of the potentially disturbing aspects of this all. So we have a man here who, in reality now, went to space and did an experiment and came back and got a patent for the spinal technology, right? He sold that company to a private biotech firm, retired, made enough to retire off, has since made lots of other patents and in biotech, including on placenta, some sort of placenta biotech even. And it's kind of creepy. It's kind of weird, and you can't have to ask yourself. And then you consider this fact that Diana talks about this notion of the UFO crashes being donations, right? And we've heard it from a lot of people, hey, quid pro quo, right? If they gave us technology, what did we give them? Wouldn't you believe that there could be something else being handed over here?
Smallpox, I guess. I don't know.
Smallpox, COVID, I don't know, but we have to ask ourselves, hey, are we looking at a situation here where some people are benefiting off of alien technology in exchange for, I don't know, secrecy that they're out there for abductions? For quite a long time, Patrick, we've seen reports of people having implants put into their bodies of being abducted by aliens, having experiments done on them. It didn't start with Whitley Strieber either. And so you really start connecting the dots here, and there's some potentially dark stuff going on.
Please tell me you saw that lightning behind me that time. And then the thunder struck immediately. We're having
right on
storm
cue
here. Oh my goodness.
If you're right, if that's happening, there's got to be some kind of quid pro quo, where they're garnering something. People just don't do things for free, hardly, in this world. For them to do that, there's got to be something they're taking away from that particular interaction.
And I want to circle back to Art Campbell here, because Patrick's brought up Art Campbell on Vetted podcast before, I believe. And Art Campbell, he wrote this book. I've got it sitting over here somewhere. It's a great book. It's not a fun read, but it's highly technical. And it details him spending years in the plains of San Augustine, digging in the desert and finding what he believes to be literally alien organs, among other things, out there in the middle of the desert. He sends them off for analysis, and the book is chock full of analysis. Not only that, but at some point, Patrick, I'm not sure you knew this, but talk about the quid pro quo stuff. Art Campbell received a letter from someone who said that he was present when Ike met with aliens and negotiated a deal with them. And Art Campbell researched this guy's background and determined, he really was a member of the military and really was there serving at that base that he says Ike visited and did this deal. Now, I admit, it smacks of psyops, a letter out of nowhere, maybe to distract you from what you're digging up in the plains of San Augustine. but it still seems like a pretty big coincidence to me.
So what are you thinking, Tim, or anybody for that matter, would be the deal? What are we giving to aliens for their technology other than small proximity?
I mean, the only thing I could see that we might be giving them biological material.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else we would have to offer anybody other than that, because, I mean, obviously our technology, if they do exist, our technology is way less advanced.
Mm-hmm.
The biological material could be something, and I don't really know what 100% secrets we would have to offer that they didn't have, but it's possible that might be an exchange, the secret exchange.
Well, I'll tell you where some people are going with it, and we had physicist Kevin Knuth on with us. He told us there's this really weird statistic that the majority of people who have claimed to be abducted by aliens have been presented with a baby at some point. And there are
And the
people,
same blood type.
yeah, of the same blood type. And there's people out there that are talking about there is a potential alien crossbreeding situation going on with humans, right? And we also had another guest that said he was abducted by aliens and they took his semen. They painfully removed his semen from his body. And here we have Tim Taylor. Oh, poof, I've just had an idea for some placenta patents. Start thinking about the souls, if aliens are collecting souls for some reason and storing them in containers somewhere, then maybe that was part of the deal too.
Patrick.
Sorry.
Where do you go from there, huh?
Yeah, I didn't want to. Yeah, wow, that's a lot to take in. I'll be honest, that's a lot. Yeah, I mean, the thought of, these alien beings or whatever are scooping people up off Earth here, right? And without consent, horrifically extracting, semen from dudes and women, who knows what's happening to that, and then making these babies. The story sounds crazy, if I'm being honest. Just right off the bat, it sounds crazy, but I just need to see proof of this stuff, some evidence for me to really even consider it, to be honest with you, because then it's just, where do I go? What do I do with that story?
Right.
Now,
There's no end.
I don't know what to do, but a person telling that story, I feel deep sympathy for them. I can't understand those feelings, but deep sympathy that someone went through something so traumatic, has to live with it, right? And then even repeat the story, and it doesn't seem like there's any end to it, right? Is that what we're giving back? Is that the quid pro quo? If it is, we need to renegotiate the deal.
Yeah.
Here, we need to go on strike and renegotiate, because that is not worth the technology that we have, in my opinion. If that's what we're getting it, or what are we getting? Who makes the deal? Who said the contract? I don't know. Plus, just because if you give a monkey a banana, you're not necessarily wanting anything from it except seeing what he does with it. Observation. Think of social media. What the biggest thing is, they just use your data. They're like, hey, go have a good time. We're gonna track what you do, and then we sell that information. So the beings could just be giving you stuff, and then they just want to see what you do with it. They don't necessarily want anything back, if that makes sense. So, because that just seems like an odd deal to make. Well, we'll give you some new technology, but we're gonna need your semen. I don't know. I just think there would be a lot of dudes willing to do that for nothing, in my opinion. I feel like there'd be a lot of dudes like, you ain't gotta force me. I will intergalactic
willingly donate.
Yeah, I believe
10 years
that,
off your
100%.
prison sentence, maybe.
Yeah. Tim, you might, we're joking, but that I could see that happening. So
yeah,
anyway,
that might be
I don't know.
happening. We would never know.
We would. I don't know if I want to know. I don't need to know everything. There's some things
True.
they can keep to themselves. So I don't know. I'm curious. Yeah.
Yeah, my theory, if this is all real, my theory is that they're just trying to crossbreed with humans so that both species can make it to another planet.
I like that.
That's my thought.
Yeah. So some new planet that
Yeah, well, we know we're going to use up all of the resources on Earth if we want the human species to continue. It can't continue here forever. We have to be able to do interplanetary travel, and they've
Yeah.
got the technology, but they also need some sort of body to get them further into time. Crossbreed situation to
I like this. I don't think
I'm
I've heard that, if I'm being
just
honest.
talking. You know,
No,
just
but
throwing
that's
things out
it's
there.
hard to hear new theories, to be honest. I never heard that theory before. I like that.
Oh,
That's
well,
interesting.
there you go.
It is good, and we haven't even brought up the military and aerospace implications, right? So obviously, there's a big contingent of people that believe we have been reverse engineering alien technology for quite a while and integrating it into our aerospace industry, into our military technology. So obviously, if we could get our hands on something like that, we definitely would. Now, again, what would we have to offer for that? Or let's put it another way: if we could fit, and this is where Chris Bledsoe comes back in. Chris Bledsoe insinuated that Tim Taylor wanted his involvement because he could connect with the phenomenon in ways that they just simply couldn't. And so, if they could figure out a way to, you know, connect with the phenomenon in ways that would improve our military technology, then I feel like, yeah, they would.
Absolutely. Well, we want to dive into some listener questions and hot takes here soon. But before we do that, any last thoughts on Tim Taylor and who this guy is? And, is he profiting from downloading information from the phenomena or from doing these scientific studies in space shuttles? How do we get connected?
Tim, if you're listening, let's do an interview, Tim. Let's get you
Right?
out there. We just want to hear from you. That's all. We just want to learn if there's something to learn. Right?
Well, he's profiting.
Yes.
Well, yeah, but he's already rich, so unless he's just wanting to garner fame, got enough money.
Well, he doesn't want the fame, clearly.
Well, here's the thing. He's used American tax dollars, so I think it's fair to ask him to sort of explain some of this. That's my opinion on it. Now, the stuff he's done privately or trips or what, no
Yeah.
problem. That's his own
Well,
thing.
I mean, I agree. I'm just saying if he's doing this
Yeah, no, you're right.
profiteering, I mean, he's already probably worth more
It's
money
done.
than I'll ever see in my life.
Yeah, 100%. Me too. No,
Likely.
you make a
Yeah.
good point. He has no. I mean, you make a good point. He has no reason to.
But there's the ethical dilemma, right? You have this ability, this is according to Diana, to go through these protocols and get in some sort of connection with an alien mind and come up with these experiments that yields biotech that helps humanity. How many people does it help? I don't know. Let's say thousands. Heck, let's say millions. So the ethical dilemma is that worth? And by the way, is all that new technology really just coming from scientists in space, or might some of these abductions be in collaboration with humans to develop this technology? So the ethical dilemma is, hey, to help thousands or millions of people with the new biotech, is that worth an exchange of, I don't know, however many abductees, however many missing that we see in the United States every year? How many thousands of people are missing from Alaska and national parks with literally no explanation? The guy that climbed Mount Shasta, I believe it was, and he never came back down. There's literally no crevices to disappear in. So there's an ethical dilemma here, right?
Well, I'd say this in my class. The wheels of history have been greased with the greed of humanity, because you never underestimate greed. And if one person wants something, they don't care who stands in their way. A lot of people don't. Now, I would, but a lot of people don't care who stands in their way. So if it takes lives, that's fine. If it takes abductees, that's fine. And that's what it boils down to. It depends on who the person is, because we've seen it 1,000 times over the course of the earth that people will trump on you for their own reasons.
Yeah. You're right.
Yes, they will. All right, let's dive into some listener questions here. We have some from earlier, but if you are listening right now and you have questions for any of us or for our guest Patrick from the Vetted podcast, please do put them in all caps so we can pull those in as well. All right, Tim, let's get this first question up here. Oh, yes, from Jason. What inspired you to start the Vetted podcast?
First of all, what's up, Jason? Thank you for the great question. To actually start the podcast, I would say I interviewed James Fox on my other podcast about Moment of Contact, about the Brazil Varginha case, and that well-produced film and great conversation with James really just kind of sent me over the edge. Like, okay, I'm in. I was always kind of into it before, but not like that. So that really set me over the edge to sort of want to dedicate my time, full time to it.
Sure. That was your initial contact.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Next, we've got from Jessica. Seems like it's also for you here, Patrick. What's been the most surprising or unexpected thing you've learned from your podcast?
I think we can all answer that. What was the question again? I'm so sorry. I missed it.
What's been the most unexpected or surprising thing you've learned from the podcast?
Got it. Jessica, great question. Again, you got a great audience here asking great questions. Surprising or unexpected thing, the most surprising and unexpected thing is that the things you'll learn will be surprising and unexpected, if that makes sense, because you don't know what you're going to, go through as you go through it. So just be willing to take things in stride and go with it. That would be the biggest thing. Learn to let things go and just move on. Just don't focus on whatever things just something, you record something with a guest, it goes wrong. Who cares? Let's record again. Like, just let things go. Something maybe not working right in the interview. Okay, let's move on. You're getting some comments somewhere about move on. So just learn to take things in stride. It's good. You're going to have a lot of surprising and unexpected things.
Wonderful answer.
With our podcast, and I totally did not expect this to happen, but so many of the people that have come on the show with us, by the time they were gone, they felt like friends and family to me. And I totally didn't expect that to happen. Yeah. And just like the folks from Board Camp Crystal Mine in Arkansas, they sent me a message the other day, right? Like, hey, when y'all coming out and staying with us? And I thought, man, that's amazing. And so many of the folks we've had on, and I'm sure Patrick will be the same way. I'm just like, man.
No, I hate my guests. I hate them. I'm kidding. I'm joking.
These are, but
it's that Southern charm, right? Tin. It's that Southern charm. Yeah. Well, I think it's the Southern in all of us here. Right. Just kind of hospitality and very friendly. And you can meet someone at the gas station pumping gas. Next thing you know, you're barbecuing on Sunday. I love that, actually.
Yeah.
So I'm with you guys. Yeah,
100%. We're all hosts. We like to host people.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. Totally.
All right. This is definitely for you, Patrick. How do you manage to get new content out every day? I want to know that too.
Frank, another great question. I download it, y'all. I just
he's got his protocols.
Give me the stuff. No, I'm kidding. Right. I don't necessarily record every day. Yeah. I don't necessarily record every day, but I make sure new video goes out every day. It's my full-time job. So it's a little bit easier than if I was doing this after, working 60 hours, like let's say when I ran my food truck, there was no way in hell I'd be doing that with this. Right. So it's my full-time job. So it's not as hard as you think. There's people out there doing way harder jobs than me. Okay. Way harder jobs than what I do. In fact, it's coming from working as a chef in restaurants and working 7 days a week, all day long, breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Right.
This is like cake, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
it's like, this is easy. This is so easy. I get to stay home and just record, talking to a mic and a camera. And it's actually not that hard, to be honest with you. And there's so much content out there to cover. You would think there may not be. There actually is. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of people, a lot of events, lots of things happening. These guys would tell you the same thing. it's actually not that hard because I try to make each video one thing I talk about if I can. Right, it's about one sort of thing. I don't try to jump around too much. I mean, I add context to what I'm trying to show, but I try to keep it to sort of one sort of message. So
Yes.
it's actually not that hard. So probably the job you have is 10 times harder than what I do. So respect to y'all out there watching, listening that have the real jobs. All the respect to y'all.
And I tell you what, Patrick, keeping your daily content to as concise of a point and topic as you can is incredibly difficult, especially with the
100%.
UFO topic.
Yeah.
It's not known for the as the UFO rabbit hole for nothing. And
Yeah.
that's probably my second biggest surprise is from our very first guest, who we thought was just a simple story, right, about a UFO encounter. As he started digging, it just went deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and it never stopped. And that was the first guest, and that was over 3 years ago. So just think how big of a Grand Canyon we've got now. We've got one
And
more.
Tim can't stay on topic ever. So
Yeah.
let's jump into.
Well, we got one more question for Patrick, if he doesn't mind.
All right, last question here for you, Patrick. This is from Grace. How do you envision the future of the Vetted podcast evolving or growing?
Great question, Grace. Oh my God, your guys' audience has amazing questions. By the way, I'm here for the audience at all times, guys. This is why we're here. Y'all are why we're here. Otherwise, why are we live streaming? Why are we talking about this stuff? Right? Y'all are so important. So great question, Grace. I called vetted for a reason. It's not called like UFOs or probably like the same thing for them. There says all things unexplained because my idea was to branch out with vetted, talking about other things, ancient technology, ancient civilizations, cryptids, right? The strange and mysterious, just that kind of whole. So that is where I see vetted sort of going. But UFOs is like so dear to my heart, that particular subject. So I'm starting there and kind of growing there. But I do hope to branch out into other things. Plus, you start to see a lot of things become related in some ways, right? And start to connect, which is fascinating. So I hope that answers your question, Grace. Great question.
And it does all seem to be related.
Yeah.
All right, let's get some hot takes in here, Tim.
Yes, indeed. It's time for our Area 51 Coffee Company hot takes.
Oh, that picture's right in front of Smitty's face.
Look at Smitty's like, wait.
How did
why
that
am I
happen?
the hot take over here? You're the hot take, Smitty.
The hot take today.
I can't get the layout to change. Sorry.
Well, I am the
Smitty.
hottest host, so whatever.
Get your
It gets hot down there in
Area
Mississippi,
51 coffee at area51coffeeco.com.
I didn't mean temperature-wise.
They are not going to re-up this after this episode.
That's funny.
We apologize, Area 51 Coffee Company. Please order a case to make up for this indignation. My first hot take is for Patrick. The keystone event of ufology. What do you make of the Roswell incident, 1947?
I find it absolutely fascinating. The story behind it, the intrigue. We were talking about JFK earlier, all of us, right? Because I live in the Dallas area. The intrigue is equal, right? It's like the moon landing. It's like Roswell. I mean, it's one of the biggest in the entire globe, in my opinion, right? Like people know Roswell. So yeah, I'm fascinated by it. Is that the beginning? Just sort of this decades-long cloak and dagger game between our own government, right? And I'm jealous, Tim, because I want to go visit like you. I want to.
Oh, let me tell you. Well, first of all, I didn't know why I was going out there. I just felt drawn to it. One of the intriguing parts of Pasulka's story was this academic discussion of this nun in the 1600s that bilocated to New Mexico and help spread the word of Spain, right? But there just seems to be something mystical and magical about the place, that predates nuclear technology, of course. And Patrick, I didn't know why I was going out there, and I'm going to talk more about this one night, but I went. And next thing you know, I'm at the actual crash site. I'm with somebody from the Discovery Channel. I'm with some local folks that are able to take us out there who I managed to connect with. So that kind of blew my mind, the fact that just with no plans, nothing, I just went out there, and next thing you know, I'm at the crash site. Now, I did come back with an alien virus, I'm convinced of that still. CJ could tell you I could barely speak when I got back.
Okay.
That's a great week.
But I'm gonna cover this on another episode. We found some stuff out there. We had a metal detector,
I'm
and
glad
we
we're on
found
Zoom, Tim. I'm just
yeah,
saying.
yeah, we
We're not in
found
the
some
same
things
room.
that I can
I'm
only
kidding.
describe as anomalous metallic things. And we have
Okay.
some friends on
Oh.
joining us. Shout out to UFO Busters, that UFO show in Australia. Hello, people. Much love from Sydney, Australia.
Some
Hey,
balloons for
Look
y'all.
at that.
I'm sending your way, Sydney.
Look at
Wait,
that.
how did you figure that out so quickly? I don't know how to do balloons.
By accident. Trust me, I don't want it. I can't get rid of it.
Listen, there's some that reminds me of the lawyer that went on with the judge and he couldn't get the cat filter, off.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
So
That
and he
was
goes,
a great one.
and he had to let the judge know, just so you know, I'm not a cat. Oh, okay. Because we were worried. We didn't know if you were actually a cat.
We could just keep going. I'm sure it won't be too much of a distraction.
Oh, such a funny video.
But there are some great UFO
Classic.
people in Australia, including, I think it's UFO Busters. No, it's UFO SEQW. Anyway, they run a 24-hour day, at least at nighttime, live cam of the sky. And you could just
That's
tune in
awesome.
and watch the sky. And they spot, some crazy things on there. So I do have a quick Area 51 Coffee Company hot take for Smitty. Please be careful. Be careful and brief. What's your hot take on Catholicism?
Oh gosh.
Going to cross myself before you
This
answer.
is an intense
Can I please
question.
avoid this question altogether?
Yeah, I don't think that's appropriate for this
Yeah,
show.
How is that possible? It's deeply entwined with the Diana
Oh
Pasulka
Jesus, Smitty, what are
story.
you gonna say? Now I'm curious. What's I don't know what the
it's-
problem is here. Like,
you
what
know.
is Smitty about
I
to
don't-
say?
Hey,
know,
I
I
knew though. I
Mm.
told him to be careful. Listen, Smitty, Diana Pasulka took Tim Taylor to the Vatican archives. We have photo evidence of it, interestingly, from Chris Bledsoe's book, UFO of God. I just wish that we had a photo of Chris Bledsoe with Tim Taylor, but I digress. Diana Pasulka said that Tim Taylor literally converted to Catholicism after visiting the Vatican archives.
This Tim Taylor guy gets stranger and stranger.
Well, I do think that they have an unbelievable amount of power, and that what they have there has hidden everything that they don't want anyone to ever see. And so that's all I'm going to say about that.
All righty, good hot take.
I
I've
agree
got-
with that hot take, Smitty.
I will just say, there is something to be said, and we've pondered before. Is Ross Coulthardt's giant UFO under the Vatican? The Catholic Church has been around for a long time, and there's no doubt, certainly, that they have more historical knowledge and scientific knowledge than I hate to say it, than the Southern Baptist and the Methodist and the Church of Christ is all combined. So there's some interesting, there's something to be said for that. I do have an Area 51 Coffee Company hot take for CJ real quick.
Uh-oh.
This was in the news today or yesterday. UFO nuke mystery goes global. India newspaper reports craft flying over nuclear power plants every few days. And ties in with Pasulka too. It's like the chicken and egg, when we talk about Roswell and the plains of St. Augustine, which, by the way, right down the road from White Sands. And which came first, chicken or the atomic test or the UFOs? Some people believe that we opened a portal, that we weakened the realm between dimensions, or that we just literally zapped them out of the sky with new radars and atomic testing. CJ, what's your hot take on
This is quite the hot
UFOs and nuclear sites?
I don't know that I have enough knowledge to really give an opinion here, but based on what we have learned and heard, and we've had people on the show who have been at nuclear sites that have been shut down by UFOs, if I'm going to go real deep here, I think that we're being watched, and just like you said once before, if we were watching some other smaller creature about to kill one another, would we step in and stop them? If they are a higher intelligence, they've made it all the way here from another planet, they clearly had to be a kinder species to not kill each other along the way. Maybe they're just trying to keep us from mutual assured destruction.
Great answer, Patrick. You've talked to a lot of people. What do you think about this?
You've talked to a lot of people. I have, Tim.
You
My whole
visited a
life,
lot of
there's
nuclear
been a lot-
sites.
Yeah, that's true. That's funny. Yeah. Kids with the matches theory, right? I think Nick Pope told me that for the first time when I talked to him. Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with what CJ said. To be honest with you, I would just second that. To be honest with you, I don't know. It's an interesting connection.
I mean, it takes a lot of leaps of faith, right? You have to believe
Yeah.
that there are UFOs. You have to believe that there are aliens. You have to believe that there are, whatever, all of those. But if we're
Yeah.
going to take all of those leaps of faith, then I would say that they are just shutting us down to keep us from
Help protect it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that totally makes sense. Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
And of course, there was a recent report from a whistleblower that said, hey, we were testing a nuclear warhead. It wasn't active, but a UFO literally shot it down out of the sky. And that was in the news recently from a whistleblower. Patrick, I want to ask you about something a couple of weeks ago, much different than what we usually get from the government, which is this.
Well, some of that, I think, sir, we'll save for closed session.
The government actually revealed all, wink, wink, with the new Arrow report. I actually love this headline. No proof the U.S. government knows anything about UFOs, says the U.S. government. That's my favorite headline about the Arrow report. Patrick.
Wow, that's pretty funny.
From Vetted Podcast, what's your hot take on the Arrow report?
I don't think it's much of a hot take, really. But yeah, I mean, again, I've been saying on my show, like, regardless of what you think about this topic, right? You believe, you don't believe, you think it's all bullshit, whatever. Those are taxpayer wasted dollars on that report, on the investigation into that. It almost seemed like a waste to even release it. Like, I don't know what it was meant to do. Like, oh, well, let's just stop looking into this. Like, it wasn't well put together. It's kind of insulting, I think. It's just a waste of tax dollars. Hopefully, but to be fair to the whole system, a lot of stuff in government first time around doesn't work out right. So let's just keep going, give it a try. We definitely need to stop being so like, Kirkpatrick's the devil. Everything he does is the devil, and it's all that. There's we can't have like these rational conversations about this. We're never going to get anywhere. If in my opinion, if we want like government disclosure, and that's a lot to ask. But the government isn't a monolith entity, so you can, as odd as it sounds, want the government to investigate itself, because that is possible. Yeah, I think we just need to be a little patient, which is hard to ask about this topic, but when it comes to legislation and U.S. government, like, we're going to have to be patient. Nothing just happens. Something so profound as well, right? But hopefully this new team in Arrow will take things a little further.
Well said. And I've got one more Area 51 Coffee Company hot take that I want everybody to chime in on. Get your Area 51 Coffee Company at area51coffeeco.com.
What does that say? Invading Earth one cup at a time.
Yes, and the coffee is really good, y'all. I just ran out of mine.
It's super good.
So sad.
And
it's so delicious.
And tell Patrick what
That's
you
awesome.
get when you order some Area 51
Oh, well,
Coffee
only
Company.
I get a tiny little blue alien. I need to find him and show him on this. You didn't get one, right?
They sent me a coffee mug.
I got a coffee mug too.
Boom. I did want the alien. I'm not gonna lie.
My kids cried over the alien too. Everybody wants the alien.
Yeah, the alien was super cool, and he probably glows in the dark. So, speaking of the Arrow report, we were shocked when former guest Robert Bob Salas, who had his own encounter at a nuclear facility, told us about the existence, in his opinion, of a UFO cabal. And recently, we heard these words from Ross Coulthart, Australian journalist.
And I can reveal here tonight that I've found out some of the members of a special secret advisory committee that Dr. Kirkpatrick used to advise him in the preparation of that report. I have their names, I have their roles, I know who they are. They are the gatekeepers, believe it or not, to this legacy program. Mm-hmm. They were quite literally pulling the strings on this Arrow report. And people are so angry, so bitterly angry with this feeble attempt at a cover-up, that they are now leaking more assiduously to people like me, and more importantly, whistleblowers are becoming more compelled to come forward and give evidence about what they know. And if I can just make one further point.
Okay.
I really aspire to be more Ross Coulthard-like with a Southern accent. It's not going to be easy, but I am going to pursue it assiduously for as long as I have to. You know, gatekeepers, UFO cabal sounds a lot alike to me. What does everybody think about a UFO cabal out there?
I want to know what whistleblowers have brought evidence, because he's saying like more are going to come bringing evidence. I mean, I haven't seen one do that. There's a lot of whistleblowers coming out. I think a lot of this doesn't matter. What's going to get people over the finish line is actual proof and evidence. Stories are just only going to take us so far. The more this keeps growing, the bubble keeps growing, and they're trying to get more people involved, right? You know, gatekeepers and cabals and secret. Yeah, we know all that. Okay, that's what's been talked about. We get it. Bring the evidence. Like it's that conspiracy and that sort of story is only going to go so far. So I kind of just ignore a lot of that. That's just me personally. You know, everyone, I get it. You get all riled up and they're hiding it. Okay, then we need people to come out and say, not just say, but bring evidence and proof. Otherwise, I don't know what the point is. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. So we're talking about the cabal is the group of people that we believe are withholding information, correct, Tim? That's the concept here.
That's right, that they are in complete control of the UFO narrative.
Yeah. Well, okay. So part of me believes that's true, that if this whole UFO phenomenon is real, certainly somebody is controlling the dissemination of information.
Sure.
But I don't think that that's unique to UFOs. I think that there are people controlling how we receive our information everywhere we turn, even in social media, right? Like there's social engineering intrusions into what we see, think, feel, certainly in the government. I just don't think that particular concept is unique to this phenomenon.
I agree with CJ. I mean, you look at, I know there's got to be things that are technologically more advanced than we have, but they won't release them right now because it might cause, you know, an economic downturn in some other industries. They're creating too much money. Where there's information, there's always going to be tons and tons of money. And those people are controlling this because regardless of what it boils down to, the people with the most money generally have the most power. And if they don't, they're backing the people that do with the money.
Yeah.
And I'll get my hot take on that to finish up our Area 51
nobody
hot
asked you for your hot
takes.
take, Tim.
Just to round it out, I want to encourage
I'm putting a timer
everybody.
on. I am putting a timer on. You have 30 seconds.
30
sir.
seconds.
That's
Hey,
hilarious.
I'm going to go back to one of my old favorites, The Day After Roswell by Colonel Corso. Whistleblowers are not new either. They've been military personnel have been blowing the whistle for a long time. Just nobody's ever really listened or believed them. If we believe that Roswell was indeed an alien crash or a UFO crash, extraterrestrial, NHI from another dimension, whatever you want to call it, then not only are you talking about the most important secret in the history of the world, you're certainly talking about the most important military secret ever. Hands down, bar none, the biggest secret, the most important secret ever. And if you read Day After Roswell, it started, boom, it crashed. Rancher found it, boom, the timer started ticking right there. The UFO cabal went into effect at that very moment. Why? Because it had to. And if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense when you're dealing with the greatest secret ever. And that's my hot take on
that is
the
your
UFO
hot
cabal.
take. Wonderful. Well,
Boom.
this is just the tip of the iceberg. I think there's so much more that all of us are going to explore over the next several years. Patrick, tell our listeners where they can find you. What's the best place to go to get vetted?
Boom. Great. Yeah, vetted.show. You know, go to the website, and that'll just take you, to the YouTube channel or wherever, Patreon, that sort of thing. So vetted.show, vetted.show.
Wonderful. Please do go check him out. Like, subscribe, follow. I watch your videos every single day. Tim makes sure I have one on my phone every morning, whatever came out the day before.
Nice.
And I have been watching them. They've been very,
Nice.
very educational. So thank you for what you do and the effort that you put into all of that work.
Thank
We
you.
are so grateful to have such wonderful guests like you on our show. Thank you, Patrick, for joining us. We hope that everybody will like, follow, subscribe, all of the things for All Things Unexplained as well. We thank everybody for their time. Tim, Smitty, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
I have a final thought before Smitty takes us out. Folks, the skies are not classified. The woods are not classified. Get off your screens. Look up. Go in the woods. The truth is still out there.
Everybody just go to the woods, please.
Go in the woods, please.
Head to the mountains, cabin.
Well, let me tell you something.
Get in traffic, okay?
If you do that around here, you better wear some off, because you're going to have ticks all over you in about 2 months.
Smitty's like, you better take some off with you. And while you're at it,
Well, that's the real hitchhiker effect.
let's take a camping gear while you're at it. Fishing pole. No, I'm kidding. No, that's funny.
Smitty can play the banjo. Ba-da-dum-bum-bum.
No,
Get off the grid, y'all. Go and get
I don't play anything but the radio.
And then down.
the
Do
radio.
it,
I'll play
Smitty.
the
You know you
radio,
got
that's
it.
it.
You know you got a banjo right there.
I've got a guitar, but I don't know how to play it. But
You got some
Oh,
pretty
God.
teeth there, Smitty.
Oh my
I
goodness. We
appreciate
are
that.
derailing quickly. All right, Smitty, send us on out. friend.
Thanks for Patrick being here. This has been a great show. Thank you for our listeners, and be happy, be strange. Listen to All Things Unexplained. Good night.
Hey, unexplained ones, are you ready for your next adventure? Then look no further than UFO Watchtower in Hooper, Colorado. Experience the wonder of the cosmos with guided tours, skywatching events, and first-hand accounts of their over 300 UFO sightings. Whether you're a seasoned ufologist or just curious, the UFO Watchtower welcomes you to explore the mysteries of the universe. They are currently open on weekends for tours or during the week for camping. Give them a call at 719-378-2296 to book your trip today.
Thanks. Like. Share. Follow. Comment. Subscribe. Support. What's your hot take on Travis Taylor?
I've got an exclusive for you guys if you
Okay.
want it about the
Yes,
Alaska.
we do.
Okay.
All things unexplained.
So some of that, I think, sir, will save for closed session.